Welcome to Politics Uncovered. Today, we're diving into the messy world of trade wars, especially the high-stakes battle between the U.S. and China.
I'm really excited about this topic, so let's kick it off. What exactly is a trade war, and why is it more than just dollars and cents?
Well, a trade war, it's when nations slap tariffs, sanctions, or even bans on each other's imports and exports. It's marketed as protecting jobs and balancing trade, but in reality, it triggers higher prices, supply shortages, and strained international relations.
Absolutely. And it's like throwing a wrench into global supply chains. How did we get to this point again?
The U.S.-China conflict really kicked off, under Trump and has continued under Biden. It's not simply about the money. It's a power play, a contest over who controls future technology, global trade rules, and even values, as if it's a geopolitical chess match.
Speaking of geopolitics, the historical angle is pretty chilling, right? Like that embargo in 1941 that helped push Japan toward Pearl Harbor?
Yes, that's a perfect example. The U.S. imposed a crippling embargo on oil and scrap metal to pressure Japan. And, history shows us that economic pressure can escalate into military conflict, especially when a country feels cornered. History can be a real eye-opener.
That makes you wonder, are the current measures with China actually diffusing risks or just lighting a fuse?
Right? There's this big debate. Should we view tariffs, sanctions, and export controls as defensive moves to protect American technological edge and jobs, or as actions that might catalyze dangerous escalation?
And these tariffs on Chinese imports, like from tech companies such as Huawei, and export controls on high-tech chips, they're all aimed at reducing dependency. Is that working?
The U.S. thinks so. It's trying to protect innovation and bring manufacturing of critical items like semiconductors back home.
Yep.
But here's the twist. By cutting off access to American tech, it might be inadvertently pushing China to ramp up its domestic innovation.
Wait, so by trying to slow China down, we might be speeding up their tech development? Isn't that a bit counterproductive?
It does sound counterintuitive, doesn't it? It's like saying, hey, innovate faster. And indeed, initiatives like Made in China 2025 are showing real progress in AI, green energy, quantum computing, and advanced manufacturing. They're kind of using our restrictions as a kickoff boost for their self-reliance.
So, at least for China, it's a win in terms of forcing innovation. But what about the everyday impacts? What are consumers and industries feeling from these trade skirmishes?
The fallout is pretty broad. American farmers and exporters have lost access to key Chinese markets, while Chinese factories have seen orders drying up from Western countries. And consumers, they're paying more for gadgets, groceries, and even kitchen appliances because of rising prices and broken supply lines. It really squeezes everyone.
And that global ripple effect, supply chain issues, inflation spikes, it sounds like the whole world, not just the U.S. or China, pays the price.
Exactly. It's like a slow-motion earthquake. While some domestic industries might get a small, temporary boost, the larger picture is a strained global economy. Think about it. Rising costs everywhere means it's not just a political spat, but a challenge to economic stability. It's a heavy burden on international trade relations.
Now, diving a bit deeper, what's the scorecard so far? I mean, who really wins in this war?
If we tally it up, it turns out that no one really wins, at least not yet. American industries face competition, Chinese factories lose out on Western orders, and consumers on both sides end up with higher prices. Even domestic chip makers, while enjoying subsidies, are part of a larger economy that's absorbing the cost.
Absolutely.
The winners might be very few and far between.
There's also that underlying risk of miscalculation. Without economic interdependence, doesn't it remove a key stabilizer from international relations?
Spot on. The more these two giants, the U.S. and China, decouple, the higher the risk that a misunderstanding or small incident could spiral into something catastrophic, be it political or military. It's like removing the safety net that keeps tempers from flaring too high in moments of tension, and a bit unsettling.
Point. I can see why that's such a contentious issue. Some argue for further decoupling to secure national interests, while others push for re-engagement through smarter trade agreements.
Right, and here we hit a crossroads. On one hand, isolating to protect domestic innovation seems attractive, but on the other hand, complete decoupling risks, hampering cooperation on global issues, and even escalating conflicts in hotspots like Taiwan or the South China Sea. It's a double-edged sword.
I have to challenge a point here. Some might say that these trade wars are effective in safeguarding national security and economic independence. But is it really a win if it eventually narrows market choices and innovation suffers globally?
That's a really good critique. While the short-term aim of protecting domestic industries is clear, in the long run, mutual economic decoupling could stifle innovation on both sides and lead to a less dynamic global market. It's almost like trying to lock yourself in a room to keep out the storm. Sure, you stay protected, but at the cost of, well, missing out on the fresh air of global exchange. That isolation can be a trap.
And this in turn raises the question, should the U.S. continue down this path of decoupling, or is it time for a smarter, more engaged approach?
The debate is intense. The U.S. is clearly trying to reduce reliance on Chinese imports and boost domestic supply chains by pouring billions into things like semiconductor manufacturing. But then you have China forging ahead on self-reliance, accelerating tech development. It creates this ironic situation where, by trying to hold China back, the U.S. might inadvertently empower its competitor. It's a strategic paradox.
Right. So, if I'm hearing correctly, the real winner might be the one that manages to balance competition with cooperation rather than aggressively isolating themselves.
Exactly. Thought-provoking, isn't it? It's about finding that delicate balance where both sides can compete without, tipping over into catastrophic conflict. Sometimes smaller smart trade agreements and tighter international rules might achieve that balance more effectively than outright decoupling. It's a tricky pun-intended trade-off.
And let's not forget the human side. Farmers losing markets, consumers paying more. When we discuss geopolitical strategy, we must remember how it impacts ordinary lives.
Absolutely. Trade wars aren't just about abstract economic theories or high-level strategies. They have real, tangible impacts on everyday people, raising prices, reducing available goods, and ultimately affecting the quality of life. It's definitely a reminder that behind all these policies, there are real human stories.
So, in the end, are we saying that trade wars are like slow-motion earthquakes, reshaping the landscape in unpredictable ways, and that truly no one really wins?
Precisely. Trade wars unsettle the delicate web of global trade and cooperation. The immediate winners might be a handful of domestic sectors, but the broader global community, including both U.S. and Chinese consumers, suffer in a big way.
Exactly.
Because in this scenario, it's more like a lose-lose situation.
It really calls into question whether the policies of aggressive decoupling are the answer, or if they might just be setting the stage for bigger issues down the line.
Right. And that's the big risk, miscalculation. Without economic interdependence, even minor incidents could escalate dramatically. Kind of like removing shock absorbers from your car. It might run fine for a while, but one bad bump and you're in trouble. That's a compelling analogy.
Absolutely. And it also emphasizes why smart trade agreements and international collaboration might be a safer route than a full-blown trade war.
Exactly. Policies that promote measured responsiveness and adaptive cooperation can not only protect national interests, but also ensure global stability. It's a somewhat more sustainable approach in today's interconnected world. It's about safeguarding both competitiveness and global peace.
Given everything we've discussed, what do you think is the real takeaway?
Well, the bottom line is that trade wars, as intense and bold as they seem, rarely produce clear-cut winners. The U.S., China, and everyone in between end up absorbing significant costs. And while decoupling might give a temporary edge to some domestic sectors, the long-term picture suggests that global cooperation and smart regulation provide a more promising path forward. It's a real wake-up call for policymakers.
Couldn't have put it better myself. So I guess the challenge going forward is finding that balanced strategy that weighs national security without sacrificing the benefits of global trade. A delicate dance indeed.
Exactly. And as we wrap up this discussion, it leaves us with so much to ponder, whether to continue defending isolationist policies or move towards more thoughtful, smart partnerships. It's about
Right.
questioning everything and staying informed in a rapidly changing world.
Thanks for this engaging breakdown. It's been a deep dive into the nuances of trade wars.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining in. And don't forget to keep questioning and learning about these pivotal issues. Until next time, stay curious and stay informed.